All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you again for attending. We're really happy to have you with us today. I'm going to start with a few questions. How many people here are completely happy with the process of filing COLAs? How many people think it's awesome? How many people think the process of applying for state product registrations is easy? And how many people would love to continue to send in their monthly reports manually? All right. Well, you know, at ShipCompliant, we have a set of core values that we use every day. We use them to hire people. We use them to fire people. And we really believe in them. And they've become instilled over the years. And one of the things that, you know, the things that we ask our employees to do every day, as I mentioned this morning, first and foremost is to listen. You know, we speak to hundreds of people every day. I think on the order of 300, you know, calls that we get every day. And we listen, we understand the challenges, we document stuff, and we pay attention. And it's really something that we strive to do is understand why you're asking questions and what it is that's important to you. And, you know, another thing that we ask our people to do is to promote change, right? Is to, based on listening to what you say and based on understanding what the problems are, you know, let's think about solutions. Let's try to solve problems. And finally, we want to innovate, right? That's every single month we deploy new features, we make changes, we make improvements. Paul, I'm not sure if we've ever actually had a bug, but if we theoretically did have a bug, we would fix it. And we do that on a daily basis. And it's our goal to continuously improve our products. And so we're talking about these issues today because we've gotten feedback over and over again for the last couple of years that these issues are really important. Time to market, complexity of you know, the registration process, and all these things are issues that everybody faces. We think we're in a unique position to help solve them. What we'd like to do today is have a dialogue, tell you what's going on, tell you what's yet to come, and, you know, to continue to listen and encourage you to reach out, tell us how we can make your lives easier. That's really what we're all about, and we want to always reinforce that and make sure that you guys always have an avenue to have that conversation with us. We've got a great panel for you this morning. I'm going to step out of the way. Before I do, I'm going to introduce our panelists. First up is Carrie Green. Carrie Green is a longtime friend of ShipCompliant. We've worked with him in partnership for many years. And Carrie is the Chief Operating Officer and General Counsel for Wine America. Prior to joining Wine America in 2008, Carrie was an associate at Washington, D.C. office of McDermott, Will, and Emery, LLP. As a member of the firm's alcoholic beverages and products practice group, he concentrated his practice on winery law and regulation, as well as trade practice and distribution. Carrie got his start in the wine industry working in the tasting room of Jefferson Vineyards, a Virginia-based vineyard and winery. He previously worked for Wine America as a summer intern following his first year of law school. It's really an honor to have Carrie with us today from D.C. Carrie, Wine America is a national association of wineries, and they do really great work on behalf of wineries across the country. It's a real honor and privilege to have Carrie with us today. I'm gonna introduce everybody, then I'll ask you to come up, Carrie. Elizabeth Oostra. We're excited to have Elizabeth Oostra come down from Washington, from Woodinville, because she's a ShipCompliant power user. St. Michel Wine Estates was one of our very first customers, going back to early 2006. And we've had a great relationship with St. Michel for a long time. They've been you know, a great partner of ours. Elizabeth joined St. Michel Wine Estates regulatory compliance team in 2010, where she was responsible for submission of all COLAs and state product registrations for the company's extensive portfolio of wine. Prior to joining the wine industry, Elizabeth had over 9 years of compliance experience in the timeshare industry. We're really happy to have Elizabeth come down from Washington to join us today. Thank you, Elizabeth. And finally, the brains behind ShipCompliant, one of the smartest guys I've ever known. Paul is, you guys may have never spoken to Paul before. It's very possible, but he is behind the scenes solving every problem that we have every day. And Paul is our Chief Technology Officer and Vice President of Operations. Really makes things happen, always in the conference room, brainstorming solutions, writing stuff on the whiteboard, and solving problems. And Paul's really at the core of everything that we do. And so Paul will be batting last in the lineup today. So please feel free to jump in with questions as we go. We're going to save time at the end for questions. And without further ado, I'm going to welcome Carrie Green from Wine America.
Hello. Whoops. So a quick story, just to prove how important all this stuff is and how seriously we take it. So I'm going to give you a bit of an update about the last year and what we've been working with TTB on to improve the COLA process. So we were sitting in a meeting with TTB about 8 or 9 months ago, and we were discussing the COLA problem. And, we were making our points emphatically. And, really, it was me and a colleague of mine speaking passionately about this issue when all of a sudden the room started to shake. And it continued shaking for a good 20, 30 seconds. And we realized it was an earthquake. So we're sitting in the TTB offices while there's an earthquake in DC for the first time in 50 years. So apparently a higher power thinks that these issues are really quite important. So TTB has called us in and has been talking to us about this for a year. They've recognized that there's a big problem with COLAs. The fact that the time is taking so long, approvals are taking as long as they are. And they called us in to ask us what we thought could be helpful and could make the system better. And they also sort of walked us through some of their concerns and the things that were bothering them. And kind of the underpinning issues that always sort of revolve around these things is, one, TTB is required to approve labels under federal statute. So the system has to have integrity to comply with the federal statute. So that's always sort of underlies this. But there's a value also in having the COLA process. If you compare what we've got when it's working quickly, what we've got versus what other industries have, when the COLA process works efficiently, we have a measure of confidence that the labels we're putting out in public are compliant with federal law. Other companies, other products don't have that assurance. We are, I think, the only, Rob can correct me, but I think we're the only product that has pre-approvals for labels. Food doesn't have that. USDA, some, right. But for the most part, we're virtually the only ones. So they also wanted to talk with us about how can we address the problems that we have and also the solutions that they'd come up with. One of them was, let's reduce the number of opportunities and times when you need a COLA. So they put this nice handy-dandy clarifying list to the back of the COLA form, and they've now put together a second one of those to reduce the number of redundant opportunities to get COLAs. And then they sort of walked us through some of the other problems that they were having. Apart from people, not necessarily reading that back of that list, the list of when things were necessary, they identified at least two or three problems. One, TTB rewrote its personalized label regulations. Well, excuse me, they didn't rewrite their label regulations. They issued new programs. It wasn't a new rule. I don't even think it was issued as an industry circular. It just was sort of a white paper. This is how we're going to deal with personalized labels. And it slowed down the personalized label process. We talked to them about that. And we said, can we get this more similar to the old way it was done rather than this new way, which is slowing you down. And then they identified two others, which were that there were a lot of mistakes being made on the label forms. People were putting, in the forms, they're putting one thing, and then on the label itself, it says something different. So you have these inconsistencies. And then people were getting approvals or seeking approvals when they didn't need them. So the question was, how do they make it more foolproof? And at the time, we knew about what ShipCompliant was working on, and we said, well, maybe you could use technology to try to improve these systems to make this more foolproof. Ask a series of questions using technology, using a good piece of software that asks people a series of questions that shows them the label versus shows them the form they're filling out to make sure that there's consistency between them. And then also, if they have a label that they don't need a new cola, you've got a cola already on this, it tells you don't need to get a new cola. So those were two problems that they asked us about, and we suggested, why don't you try to think about a piece of software that could help in with these two issues. And that would then also, because you have a human resources problem at TTB. You have reduced budgets, fewer staff people looking at these labels, and more people submitting labels all the time. So we figure if you have a piece of software that makes it more foolproof, you get fewer mistakes, and then you also get fewer labels submitted because people aren't going to resubmit when they already have a cola. Because if the software tells you you don't need a new cola, you don't need a new cola. The other thing that they brought up was actually really interesting, which was the nature of human psychology. What they said was every time we announce that there's a delay in label approvals, we get a whole mess of new labels submitted to us, like a lot more, which slows down the process even more. So again, we brought up this idea of a piece of software that could accelerate this process, and we worked very closely with Jeff and Jason and the whole team over at ShipCompliant. We kept them in the loop on what we were doing over at TTB, and we kept saying, work with ShipCompliant. These people are building a piece of software. It will address everything you're talking about. Everything you're saying here, this can really fix this problem. So we advocated that for quite some time. Now, I think that this, with the new contract in place and with Colossum, it's going to be very, very helpful, hopefully, in fixing the winery side problems. The problems of mistakes that shouldn't be made, resubmittals that shouldn't be submitted, and it'll make it easier for TTB to review the labels because it'll have this nice handy-dandy form which shows that it's consistent and compliant. The other side we hear all the time from members is that you get a label approval, you submit something that's nearly identical 6 months later, and you get a rejection. And people are incredibly frustrated by that. So that's really the next stage problem that needs to be addressed. And I think there are ways of dealing with this technologically, at least to some degree, namely showing TTB, if there were a way to show TTB, these are the approvals you've given to this winery before in the past that your various submitters have given. These are the ones you've given. This is the language. See, it's identical. Approve this. I mean, that's the next case to be made. And then the other thing that would be really helpful would be sort of a cross-platform, a cross-producer database. If it could then not just give the consistent labels that you've received in the past, but that other people using similar language, similar concepts where they've gotten approvals. So overall, the idea would be to not only fix our side for making it more foolproof on our side, but to then make it more foolproof on TTB's side. So with that, I'm going to hand it off, unless anybody has any questions for now, but I guess we're holding off for the end. So, yeah.
Hello. So I'm going to talk to you guys more about the label registration, or product registrations in the States. And just from a normal user's point of view, I'm just one of you guys. I was in this room last year listening to a similar presentation. When I first started doing these state registrations, it was all done by hand, paper. So that's 20 to 30 states for a new product, filling out a specific cover letter, the forms, printing out the copies of the labels, printing out a COLA for each one of those states. And some of those states, as you probably know, have very specific requirements, not only just for their forms, but also for their cover letters. You have to use specific words. This is a revision, this is a new product, and if you don't do that correctly, it's just right back to you and you're starting all over again. So it's a very time-consuming process and a lot of paper involved. I don't know if every company does this, but we keep copies of everything. So not only are you printing it all out, then you're making a photocopy of that, storing it in a file cabinet. And for St. Michel Wine Estates, that's about 6,500 state registrations annually, and it just takes up a lot of space. So with the ShipCompliant process, it's really made things a lot easier. It really is as simple as the demonstration showed. You can just get your COLA approval and just say, I'm going to register this product. You're going to pick your state, and it's just going to generate your packet for you. You can even go in and make changes to your cover letter if you feel like you need to add something different to that cover letter for a state. You can just go ahead and do that before you print it out. And you just print everything. You still have the problem of mailing it in for some states, but you don't have to make photocopies. Everything is already saved in your system. If you need to go in and retrieve it or review it or something, you have that record already saved on your computer. No more file cabinets full of papers. So it made things a lot more convenient and a lot less time consuming. It takes minutes to generate a registration for a product instead of an hour to 2 hours. Even more exciting is the online registrations, which has made a huge, huge difference in our company, especially for the state of Illinois, which really was, I would say, approval times of 2 months to never. I think that sometimes the packets just disappear in the state of Illinois. I don't know where they go, but a minimum 2 months for that. And Illinois is a pretty important state for our business, and not only just for your normal vintage rolls, but we do a lot of like library wine projects that sales will come to you and say, we have this 1993 wine that we want to send to this distributor in Illinois next week. And under the paper registrations, that's a no, you cannot do that. You need to delay your program. You need to notify your distributors. And of course, that does not make compliance very popular with sales or marketing or really anyone in the company. Nobody wants to have to tell sales no. So with the new program, it really is a 1 day maximum. You just say, okay, great, you want to send this product? I will do that, no problem. A couple hours later or the next day, you can notify them that it's done, you're ready, go ahead, ship your product. It's very simple. It's even simpler than printing. You don't print, you just click a button and you're on your way. And you can add notes. I think Jason was really correct in everything he said. You can add notes to the regulator. I communicated with them using that system, and it was very easy. They notified me my license had expired. I hadn't updated my license in the system, and I sent them the new number, and it was done. It was approved immediately. So it's really great. It helps sales. It helps our customer service group. They don't have to keep track of what states were not allowed to ship. Illinois was always on that list of can't ship this product here, can't ship it here. So Illinois has been removed from that. And with the other states coming on board, I expect that's just going to get easier and easier for everyone. And just the process is just so much easier now. That's it. Any questions right off the bat from a user? Yeah. The Illinois doesn't charge, but there is a charge, I believe, through ShipCompliant, a service fee. But from my point of view, it's less than the overnight FedExes that I would have to send for every packet that I was mailing to Illinois, so it's worth it to me. Okay. Oh.
Will the service in Illinois be as easy as it is in Michigan?
I think it's kind of easier than the Michigan one, because you can just generate, like one click generates your whole packet, and it has all of your information there. You don't, in Michigan, you have to kind of go in their system and upload your images and things. I think it's even a little bit more simple than Michigan. Well, it is, yeah, but with ShipCompliant, then it's tracking in your system. It's got your product, and it's tracking that it was submitted, and it's tracking that it was approved. So you have your record keeping and your submittal all in one nice little spot for you to review. No separate tracking anywhere. Okay. Pass it on.
Thanks again, everyone, for coming to the panel, and Elizabeth, Carey, special thanks to you guys for speaking. You know, as we've heard, and I think as everyone in this room appreciates, the process through the show of hands is anything but fast and easy in general right now. And as Carey and Elizabeth explained, there's really two parts to the problem. The COLA filing approval process can take a long time. Our data shows that, for example, in May, new wine labels are taking 23 to 30 days for approval. This is faster than it was a year ago by several days, based on our analysis. So that's positive, and I think that's a result of some of the efforts that TTB has made in relaxing the review process on some aspects. State registration is also a source of delay and difficulty. In some situations, as Elizabeth explained, it can take 6 to 8 weeks for an approval. Sometimes approvals seem to get lost altogether. And it also requires a lot of your time and investment in keeping track of the different processes and requirements in each state. Now, to be very fair, the volume of new products introduced to market is constantly on the rise. This animation, which I think Jason might have kind of stole my thunder on a little bit, is a visualization of data we have in ShipCompliant that demonstrates just the sheer number of labels processed by the TTB. I think this is about the last 20 to 25 days worth of data, and I think there are about 10,000 labels here. And as you can see through that animation, the vast majority of them are wine labels. So there is a tremendous amount of work involved in reviewing all this new product. So our goal is to create efficiencies in this process. As Carey said, you know, we're fortunate to have the pre-approval of labels. It provides us a lot of value with state registrations and to prevent in-field problems, and we want to maintain that. We just want to make sure that the process is streamlined, works efficiently, and isn't a burden for everyone in this room. So our solution, or our approach to the problem, is something we call PRO. And PRO originally stood for Product Registration Online, but it's really more than that. It's a brand. It's an ongoing initiative by which ShipCompliant is going to be continually applying our technology and our approach to customer service to really streamline the interfaces with state agencies as well as the TTB. The mission of PRO is the title of this panel. It's to make these processes fast and easy, highly efficient, and highly valuable. And this is something that we've been now working towards and on for several years. And it's something that we're going to continue to work towards and on for many more years to come. But with that said, there are also some very exciting and tangible tools kind of under the Pro definition available today. Elizabeth has been gracious enough to be a ShipCompliant power user and has worked with these tools in beta stages over the past year, so she has some hands-on appreciation for what they can do. Today, I'm excited to announce that these tools are becoming available to all ShipCompliant clients, and I'd like to walk you through what's available today in three primary areas: COLA filing, state registrations, and state renewals. Let's begin with COLA filing, also known as Colosum. By the way, Colosum is something we've called this tool internally for quite some time. We always seem to come up with crazy names for projects. A lot of them I don't think I'd be comfortable sharing in public. Sometimes I'm not even comfortable calling them by their name amongst our team. I didn't know Colosum was going to come out into the wild today, but it's out, and that's great. So Colosum is a complete COLA filing management solution in ShipCompliant. It's designed to prevent the most common errors that can cause delays on COLA applications. It makes working with images easy, really reducing the amount of effort required from you to prepare COLA applications, and again, preventing delays caused by errors and technical difficulties with images being the wrong format or the wrong DPI or the wrong aspect ratio. I think the only person who really knows what all that stuff is one of our engineers, David Dango, who's in the back, and he's been instrumental in creating these tools. But more importantly, our tool it makes the process efficient, but doesn't take any shortcuts. It's built to ensure that COLA applications are consistent with all standards. Even if the TTB continues its trend of relaxing the review process, you can be assured that using these tools, the COLAs that you file are compliant with all regulations, and that's a great insurance policy to have to know that you're not going to run into expensive delays in state registration if something on the COLA was overlooked, and it's going to protect you from potential in-field problems if it's realized that an approved COLA actually should not have been approved. And I'm going to demonstrate to you how we do this with a easy-to-use checklist. And as I mentioned, or I think as Jason mentioned, this is something that is available in your ShipCompliant account today. You'll find a shortcut to it as soon as you log in on your home screen, and it can also be accessed from the label area within any ShipCompliant account. And there's no additional cost. We're super excited about this tool and feel it can make a really pronounced impact on the whole industry if we get a lot of people using it, because it also makes it easier for the TTB administrators to process applications quickly. In essence, what we've done is we've taken the COLA's online user interface, which is split across many steps and many screens, and combined it into one simple form. And as you can kind of see in this animation, there's intelligence behind the form. As you complete the information required, the technology behind the scenes is checking the data in real time for common mistakes, spelling errors, putting an appellation in a fanciful name field, using terms that are known to be sensitive, making sure that ABV is consistent, ensuring that net contents are properly separated into categories. There's countless numbers of things going on behind the scenes here, and the tool presents subtle tips and guidance as you use it. As I mentioned, it also has pretty sophisticated built-in tools for dealing with images. In this demo, I think we on purpose kind of do some pretty silly things with images being the wrong size and upside down. But the tool basically will accept images in nearly any format, including PDF. Makes it really easy to crop images out if you get a single page with all your labels from marketing. Behind the scenes, the tool can optimize the images into the formats that the TTB requires. You no longer have to worry about DPI. It gives you warnings if the physical dimensions which you provide don't jive with the dimensions of the label. This is really a big time saver, and it eliminates a large portion of the reasons that, labels are not approved. We also have other intelligence built into the tool. Throughout the tool, there are little tooltips which allow you to access information and guidance on what the different fields mean. We also have this wizard which allows you to answer several simple questions that are driven by the content in the application that help guide you to what supporting documentation may be needed. In general, the tool is definitely designed to work well for experts who have filed hundreds or thousands of COLAs. I think you'll enjoy working with it, but it's also designed to help someone who may be new to COLA filing to make the information needed to submit successfully readily available. And probably the most exciting aspect of this tool is this optional but highly recommended checklist. Based on the information provided and required for the COLA filing, we walk you through steps that allow you to interactively highlight the different elements on the visual label, and these serve as a consistency check or a checklist for you to ensure that the data you've provided actually is consistent with the image you're submitting. And the process of walking through this checklist generates this supplemental document which can automatically be appended to your filing to the TTB. And our belief is that this checklist will make it very easy and very fast for the TTB administrators to know that consistency checks have been run on this label, and they can follow along and see that in fact everything is compliant with this filing. And finally, the last step is we provide the ability at any point in this process to save and continue later. So if you realize halfway through that you're missing supporting information, or you find that the image that you have is actually the wrong one, you never lose any work. The draft is stored in ShipCompliant. You can come back and continue anytime. We provide a cool tool where you can, at any stage in the draft, visualize what the application actually looks like in the familiar online COLA view. And then all it takes to submit is your COLA's online user credential. Once submitted, the data is in a draft status in ShipCompliant. You don't have to print it. You don't have to file it. It's always at your fingertips. When it's here, it's also easy to share with your sales and marketing team if they have questions on, hey, was this filed? When's it going to be approved? You can even set up alerts so they're automatically notified when the COLA is approved. And also very importantly, once the COLA is in a draft status, you can continue the rest of the product registration workflow. You can begin working on the configuration of your state registrations. You can begin price posting with the expectation that you will get approval for that COLA. Again, further compressing the total time to market. The next step is state registration. And for those of you that were here last year, we announced that we were working on a pro initiative with Illinois in beta at that time. We've worked very hard this year to spread pro state registration to additional markets. We now have a solution in place in 5 states with contracts with 3 additional states that will be going live very soon. as Elizabeth mentioned, the pro approach to state registration can have a dramatic impact on approval times. You know, we've seen evidence of 6 to 8 week wait times in Illinois being compressed to 4 hours to 2 business days. It's really dramatic, and Elizabeth, you know, thank you for sharing with us the example of how that's actually allowed you to conduct business that was previously impossible. The other great thing about Pro and really ShipCompliant's approach to state registrations is it provides a consistent interface across all the states. Actually, regardless of whether the state is a Pro state or it has a electronic filing portal of its own, or it still requires paper registration. The nice thing about working with ShipCompliant is you configure the who distributes your product, the supporting documents for your product, what states it's distributed in once and in a consistent way. And ShipCompliant does the difficulty of recognizing how packets have to be generated differently on a state-by-state basis. So just a quick review of how product registration works in ShipCompliant, and this is part of our wholesale product line. But basically, we choose a label, which is which comes from the TTB. We select the states where that label is to be registered. We identify who the distributors are, and here's where ShipCompliant does the dirty work. Behind the scenes, it's doing the collation and creating of the paper documents. And states that are Pro-enabled, you will notice carry this Pro logo and have the benefit of a transmit button. So in a Pro state, you no longer even have to print and mail that in. You simply click that button. You can communicate any comments you need to the administrator on the other end. And with the click of a button, the information is sent electronically, and typically you will receive a response within a business day. And if there are any questions that arise or issues, the state administrator has the ability to add comments and basically engage in like a instant message chat with you in the context of that registration. It makes it possible to provide additional information and in effect resubmit within hours rather than having back and forth that can take days or weeks. Once approved, you will get an alert. The status of the registration automatically changes in ShipCompliant. You can download a certificate in PDF format that can be printed and shared with a wholesaler or someone requesting verification of approval. Each Pro state also has a verify link, which is public, so you can also share that via email. And so you don't even have to exchange documents to prove to anyone who's asking that you have approval in that state. I think, over the year, as I've mentioned, that we've had beta users on this system, and in general, feedback has been very positive, and we've been able to really compress time to market in many states. I think the only negative feedback we've heard is the price. Our initial pricing for Pro was $15 a label, and that's in addition to state fees, if any. Behind the scenes, there is a complex set of agreements with states and that we've put in place to make this system possible. But today, I'm happy to announce that we're announcing new, more affordable pricing for Pro. We now have a collection of states that represent kind of an economy of scale, which allows us to do this. And effective immediately, we are reducing the $15 per label price in all states between $5 or more. In addition, we are presenting ProPass, which is the concept of basically our best, our best pricing to volume users and our treasured clients. All wholesale clients automatically benefit from ProPass pricing. So actually, effective this morning, if you're a Pro user, you will experience this reduction in Pro processing fees. On August 1st, we are excited to make Pro available to wholesale direct clients as well. This is something that is now in final testing, and ProPass will also be something that we'll be announcing at the beginning of August as something that's available for an additional monthly fee for direct users as well. The final element of Pro that has been implemented to date is Pro state renewal. And our technology actually powered Kansas's renewal program this year. Many of you may have experienced Pro without really knowing what it was. But the way this worked is Kansas basically send out a letter with a PIN to the system that you were able to use to log in and very quickly renew your products in Kansas. This greatly reduced the time and effort it took to renew. It provided the convenience to be able to pay by credit card online, receive instant approval, and as I mentioned, it was available to all Kansas licensees, and renewals done in the Kansas system were automatically synced into corresponding ShipCompliant accounts by COLA number if you're also a ShipCompliant wholesale client. And we were very excited to work with Kansas to launch this, and we hope to expand the program to other states. I think we were rewarded with great feedback from the users of the system. The Net Promoter Score for the Kansas renewal program is a 59, which especially for interface with a government process is very high. And we're very proud of this. We obviously will look for ways to make it even higher next time. But here are some examples of the type of feedback we've received. With that, I thank you, and we'll reconvene for questions. Is there anything you wanted to add, Jeff?
Sure. I'll just add it. Thank you, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Great job. We'll open it up for questions, but I wanted to add a few things. First of all, I wanted to introduce Rob Tobiasen, who's in the back. Rob's going to be speaking. Rob is the former general counsel for TTB. He just retired this year, and I'm really looking forward to Rob's remarks in the afternoon. He's speaking both in the general session and in a breakout session on regulatory updates. But I want to really commend TTB. You know, they're really in a pickle. A lot of you may be frustrated with the COLA situation, but they've actually done a lot over the last couple of years to bring industry in, to listen to Carrie and Wine America with Wine Institute and NABI and Discus and all these organizations. And I'll give them a lot of credit for taking measures to improve the situation. They certainly recognize that they could make some improvements. They're doing that, and I think this is part of it. I also want to introduce Sarah Warner. Sarah's right here in front. Sarah, can you wave? Sarah's heads our research team at ShipCompliant. She's the one that works with the state, stays on top of everything, and's got a team that stays on top and keeps us up to date. One thing that I wanted to just describe to you a little bit as well is our business model with Pro. States have negative money, right? State agencies are losing money, and their budgets are shrinking. They have less staff. They have other things that are really important that they do. And so, our whole concept with Pro is we're going to these states and we're saying, hey, here's an electronic product registration platform that you can have for free, right? Because they can't pay for anything right now. They don't have an IT staff. They don't have a budget. And so we're going to the state and we're saying, you can use this system for free. And so Paul showed you the convenience fees. We went and invested in this program. We want to bring this program to every state. We invested in it. We believe in it. The way that we recoup that investment that we've already made is through these convenience fees. Definitely heard that, $15 is too much. Changed that significantly, cut it in half. In some states it's free. I think that's going to be an easy decision. As Elizabeth said, you're probably already spending $30 at least, just doing the express envelopes and taking the time to collate stuff and write the checks and that kind of thing. So $375 seems pretty easy to me. And then the other thing I wanted to reiterate that Carrie said and that Paul said is that TTB is doing a great job of kind of changing the requirements, but it's shifting a little bit of the priority between the pre-approval process and into the field. And what you've told us, right? What you've told us when we ask is that you see the COLA as kind of like an insurance policy, right? Is that once you have that in hand, you know that that product's going to be good. So as we're going to stay up to date, right? As things continue to change and maybe a requirement is eliminated from the pre-approval process, but maybe it's still there for the field, we want to make sure that that's built into the tool, not as a required step because we don't want to slow it down for you, but it's an optional step for those that really look at it as more of an insurance policy, that you can go through those steps and make sure that you have that level of comfort with the process. So our goal is to make it easy, but to give you what you want and make sure that you're going to feel comfortable, and hopefully that when you submit things, they're approved the first time, both with TTB and with the states. And that's all that I wanted to add to the process. Do you guys have any questions? Oh, one more thing. We want to bring this to every state. And so you guys could help with that, right? If you think it's easy, you think it's good, and you like the process, and you're talking to a state regulator, you could tell them about the program. We've probably already talked to them, but it's helpful that you encourage them to at least take a look, see what it's all about. Talk to other states. Next week, I'm going to be in D.C. with Carrie and Rob, and there's the NCSLA meeting where all the regulators come to this annual event and get together and share ideas and best practices and talk about industries that are issues that are important to industry. And so we'll continue to remind people about Pro, and that'll be a good opportunity to kind of share best practices. But we're really excited about this. We're really proud of what we've done. We've got a lot of work to do, but we want your feedback. We always want your feedback. So tell us what you think. Let us know if you have any questions. Rob, do you want to add anything? Okay. Any questions? The fee is per registration. No, that would be 5 registrations, right, Paul?
Yeah, it's per COLA number, basically.
Yeah, it's effectively per label.
Does your system have the ability to auto-detect on the label images which one is the front, which one is the back, i.e. the brand?
Paul, you can answer that.
Yes, I mean.
When is the back label really the front label?
Yeah, it is.
Brand label?
Yeah, the brand label.
It does have capabilities to do that, meaning the verification checklist, which was shown, will help guide you through what information actually needs to show up on the brand label or the front label in TTB terms. Yep. But then the system is smart enough to then detect visually which one is the front label and which one is the back label, so it can auto-correct that in the state registration process.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it actually does that is by searching for the label images using OCR technology for the presence of the government warning or barcode placeholders. Mr. Dango back there knows a little bit more about how that black magic works.
But that was actually one of the things we brought up with TTB is we said, look, if you have a software product that can ensure 90% of the time that the label is going to be compliant, wouldn't you want that? So I mean, that was part of the idea in general, is to make sure that this was that it was going to be consistent, that it was always going to be compliant when it went into TTB. Right.
Yep. Yeah, and we're going to continue to improve those products. We've been working on an OCR technology, as Paul said, and it's in use in some cases to automatically detect things. Sometimes that's hard if you have weird font and that kind of thing that you're using on the label. Sometimes OCR technology doesn't always work, but we definitely do allow you to at least, if nothing else, manually say this is the front or this is the back, and going through the kind of that checklist process will certainly help you make sure that you're submitting it properly, regardless of where you're submitting it.
It prompted a question when you mentioned that many times the marketing folks will send you a single PDF that has all their labels on it. And, in the old days, we had to send it back saying, no, you've got to send me separate JPEGs, can't have any white space, blah, 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 blah. So if your system is going to separate all of that, it's going to also have to figure out which one is the brand, which one is the back.
Correct. So you're telling me that marketing has not given you, there's been cases where marketing hasn't given you perfect information before? I don't believe it. Nobody else has said that. Yeah. Yeah, we even built, it's astonishing to us, some of the stuff that we hear about, like, these PDFs, that the images coming through on the PDFs. We made a special tool. Mr. Dango did, made us, this guy is just an awesome developer, by the way. He made a special tool that will take these images out of a PDF document, which are typically kind of low res, and put them into the right format so that it can be submitted to the agencies properly, and crop it out, take care of the white space issues and that kind of thing. Yes.
It does. It is part of the checklist. Is a visual tool that allows you to verify the font sizes.
For 187.
Correct.
Yep. Yeah. So you identify the bottle sizes, and then we have these little digital. What would you call them, David? Digital calipers, almost. That kind of where you can measure. You highlight the text, and that'll actually measure it, because we know what the dimensions are of the label, and we'll tell you if you're going to have any type size issues.
That's truly colossal.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Before, if you didn't have Illustrator, and typically the compliance people don't have Illustrator, the marketing folks do, there was no way to do it except print the label, hope you were getting somewhere close to 100% resolution, and look out the ruler.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. It is. And I don't even know how to do a lot of that stuff related to the DPI and the aspect ratio and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and just also imagine from the TTB side too, because we're always sensitive to the issue that they deal with. I mean, they had to measure these things. So if you now have something that says this is the right size, that's going to speed it up for them. It's going to speed along the process.
Well, that's why they quit doing it.
Right. Yeah. No, that is. But right. No, that is. But still, now we can provide them that assurance, even if they're not doing it themselves.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I mean, again, we're open to ideas. If you can dream it, chances are David Dango can build it.
Do you have the font size in your system for European 41 as well? For Appalachians and all that kind of stuff out of the United States?
I'm not sure I understood.
Well, for instance, from your crew, font sizes in Burgundy are different from non-crew font sizes.
In terms of the font, the typeface measurement, I don't know if it matters what the font type is. Right. I mean, the way that it works
Is
is
this for purposes of French law or purposes of U.S. law?
Well, they're both related, right? I mean, if the group in the French law is going to be the same font size as here.
I only represent American wineries, so I can't speak. To I mean, usually, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, so.
No, I mean,
I know ShipCompliant is all based, shipping within our country.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Has clients that are all our country clients, but importers, wholesalers, obviously, have to work out.
Well, we have a lot of importers that use our products, and that's actually probably almost the majority of our clients on the wholesale side are importers. And so in terms of the font size, though, maybe we could talk offline because we've open to ideas. But the way that it works in terms of meeting the type size issues is that you actually use a little box and you highlight the text. And based on the height of that box that you've used to highlight it, that's the measurement, right? So it's kind of independent of the actual font size. But maybe I'm misunderstanding. Let's just talk right after the session.
And I think, sorry to just add a little bit to that answer. I think the answer is no, we don't have those font sizes in the system right now. But the cool thing about, I think, ShipCompliant in general, as Jeff said, is, you know, we're always improving the product based on your feedback. And certainly the checklist tool that we've built is designed to be modular. We will learn other things that we can add to it to make it even more valuable, and you know, we're happy to work with you to identify what's missing and how we can potentially make it better.
Yes, yeah, checklist is totally optional, and it's an extra click, I think, to actually initiate the checklist feature.
Yeah, you can bypass the checklist in full. You can bypass any steps in the checklist.
Yeah.
And even after completing the checklist, you can choose not to transmit it to the TTV. So you can have the checklist for your own records. So there's a lot of different ways you can use the checklist.
On submission through Colossus to TTV, do we get back the TTV ID?
Yeah.
Any chance of doing for those odd states that require just as, any automation seen there?
Yeah, that's a good question. You're all familiar with the UNIMERC form. Or the UNIMERC number. Is it only required in like 2 states, like Connecticut and Kansas? You guys know this stuff a lot better than I do. We have talked to Discus about that, and we'd like to automate that process. Not only Discus, but the NABCA filings. And so I don't know how much progress we've made. I don't know if we definitely need their approval, because I think that there's like a form that can be filled out or submitted. So yeah, we definitely want to automate the process of acquiring those other numbers that are required, which are kind of strange, if you ask me. Yeah, we have thought about that a lot. Laura, hi. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. So there's 2 columns here. Wholesale subscribers get the pricing on the right. With ProPass, they get ProPass automatically included. Direct customers would get the middle column unless you subscribe to ProPass. And we haven't firmly established exactly how that pricing is, but roughly it's going to be about $20 a month to subscribe to ProPass and get the pricing on the right, which would also include a couple of free registrations with the subscription. It doesn't. No, that's right. Carroll?
Label registration, we go through for the direct consumer, we have to do label registration for Georgia and Illinois, and I think one other state we don't ship to.
Yes.
When you say label registration, as you demonstrated today, is that the same thing?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. God, I keep getting too close to the mic. Yeah, it works for both wholesale and direct registrations. I think Illinois is the only state on the list that requires a direct-to-consumer registration so far. But certainly as we move from state to state to the ones that also require direct registration, we'll be able to accommodate both wholesale and direct.
For states that don't have online, Ohio, etc.
Yeah.
Trying to get approval notification is arduous.
Yes.
You have to know what it is, when, and any help there.
It's hard.
Once you've submitted,
Yeah.
even if you do paper, when do you get help getting approval notification?
Yeah.
A lot of them just don't.
Right.
This is also something we can be helpful with.
Yeah.
I mean, if you use your trade associations for this kind of thing, if you're having a problem with the state agency and they're not giving you a response, get in touch with your trade associations. This is the reason why you should be members of your trade associations, including us.
Everybody here should be members of Wine America. There's no question about that. If they're not using Pro, it's kind of a different story. There's also some states that have the website, where you can go and search stuff. That's another thing that Mr. Dango has experimented with is automatically reading that data so that you don't have to go check it, so that we can kind of look at those websites and auto detect that your label number has been approved, grab that confirmation number, and then automatically mark the status as approved. So those are the types of things that if we can automate it, we'd love to give that a shot. Any other questions? Okay, I've got a few announcements.